Okay, but first we get to that. Let's we gotta
and apparently too, Donald Trump just put out a Truth Social.
Yeah, breaking.
I am sending Tom Homan to Minnesota tonight. He has not been involved in that area, but knows and likes many of the people there. Tom is tough but fair and will report directly to me. Separately, a major investigation is going on with respect to the massive $20 billion plus welfare fraud that has taken place in Minnesota and is at least partially responsible for the violent organized protests going on in the streets. Additionally, the DOJ and Congress are looking at, quote, Congresswoman, close quote, Ilhan Omar, who left Somalia with nothing and is now reportedly worth more than $44 million. Time will tell all. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT.
I mean, look, he's like clearly firing back at Dems when it comes to sanctuary cities. He sent a Truth Social about that, saying that they're going to end them. Democrats need to cooperate with the Fed in terms of getting undocumented immigrants out of this country. But you don't see him reflecting the same sort of tone that some top administration officials were taking on Saturday. He's not calling. Go ahead.
Let me just be clear. Yeah. This is a massive, massive rebuke to Kristi Noem. Like it is a well-known not secret. It's well known that Tom Homan and Kristi Noem have gone to loggerheads, right? Yeah. The idea that he is saying, I'm sending Tom Homan, read the second line. He's not been involved in this area. This is basically saying, I'm sending the adults in. I'm sending.
Well, and Sean, it's being pointed out to me that Brian Kilmeade on Fox and Friends this morning in the 7 a.m. hour called on Tom Homan to be more involved. Perhaps a coincidence that this truth came out shortly thereafter, but perhaps not.
Or I mean, there's been reporting by conservative outlets that Kristi Noem tried to sideline him, that they wanted, certain spectacles in terms of chaos in certain places because they thought it would play well for the administration, and that Homan wanted to do a different approach. I mean, Sean, what can you tell?
Look, remember after the first shooting? Look, after the first shooting, remember it was Tom Homan that sort of initially pumped the brakes with respect to how to describe Renee Good. Tom Homan is a career law enforcement guy. He was a New York City beat cop first. He was a federal agent for years. Obama awarded him the highest civilian award in the country. This is a guy who has impeccable law enforcement credentials. Say what you will. Kristi Noem's never served a day in her life in terms of any kind of law enforcement, military. So I think
she's been a governor. She's been a governor of a state which has the National Guard.
Right. So, and again, but I don't remember any massive invasion of South Dakota. And I don't mean to say that lightly, but when you're in a crisis, you think about General Honore going down to New Orleans post-Katrina. You need somebody of stature to go in. I think the president is rightly so recognizing. Look at the response from a lot of folks on the right to Kristi Noem's comments over the weekend. Right. With respect to concealed carry, Tom Homan is the right guy for this moment. And the president's recognizing this right now in terms of the cadre of who's available. I mean, my point is that for him to go in right now and say, here's why this is important. It's not so much the left, but if the president wants to find something on the right where he can take the temperature down, you are not going to ever question Tom Homan's bona fides. So for Tom to go in and say, Mr. President, here's what I recommend. If the president says Tom said X, who is anyone else to question that? I think this is the right move.
Well, and this goes to a huge problem the administration has this morning, which is a massive trust problem with the general public.
Yeah.
Kristi Noem lied, point blank. And so did several other administration officials early on, who clearly wanted to get a narrative out that was advantageous to the administration, right? There is a reason you always hear people talk about the rapists, the murderers, and the drug dealers, not the gardeners, housekeepers, and waiters, right? They wanted to set the narrative of this like assassin, terrible person coming in to do harm to ICE.
Hold on
a sec. That was a outright lie.
Yeah.
So the reason that matters is Trump is now putting a new public face in front of this, right? He is trying to move past this weekend. He's trying to get, which we're doing. We are talking about a new initiative. And as Sean said, the general public likes Homan. So you've lost the public on this issue. And now you're trying to regain some form of public trust.
There's really no good way to sort of spin this. I mean, the administration is facing what can only be described fairly as sort of a disaster right now. Democrats sort of seizing on this to say the administration is pushing operations that are leading to the deaths of Americans. You have Republicans who are really concerned about the political ramifications here and want to see investigations as well. And then the president in the middle sort of deciding, what is he going to do next? Is he going to pull out? Does he double down? What is he going to do? We're going to show, and I should warn people right now, this video is very graphic. So if you have little ones at home, please sort of turn the camera away if you don't want them to see this. We're going to show one of the videos of what happened in Minnesota with Alex Preddy getting shot. Let's pull that up.
So again, since we're just giving people, he's the guy with the camera. So yeah. This is him right here. That's him right there, motioning with his left hand. In his right hand, he has a camera in his hand, and he's motioning with his left hand. And this is where you can see him there. I think so yeah, so
that is him. Yeah, that's him.
He's right there. And then
the one with the orange backpack, she's the protester that he ultimately is trying to help. You see the agent right there pushing her down.
Right.
He gets in the middle, tries to help her up.
There you go.
And it's not him lunging at the agent by any means. The agent pulls him off, pushes him to the ground, and this is what happens. All the agents piling on.
Well, and of course, as we're watching this, one of the challenges is that half the country was home all day, either in a storm or preparing for a storm.
Right.
And so, every American saw this and other videos throughout the weekend. And that was the first, from a crisis standpoint for the administration, that if this happens during the week and people are at work and just glancing, but you literally had half the country looking at their phones for a big part of Saturday.
So I just want to make the point here at the top that, when Renee Good was killed, all three of us came on this show and pushed back against certain Democrats saying this was, quote, murder. Certain people in the media saying this as well. I mean, clearly she was very much agitating. She had pulled her car in the middle of an operation. She was ignoring, an officer telling her to get out of the car. She accelerated, and there was real reason to see why he would fear for his life. This is a very different situation. Sean, just start with your own sort of take on this. What was your thought when you watched this video?
It's a great question, because I think when you watch it originally, and this is one of the things, Cheryl Atkinson, former CBS reporter, had a really great take about how people are looking at a video and then forming an immediate conclusion. And to your question, I think what I initially saw and then what came out over time is a little different, because you heard different narratives and then you stop and watch the video. So he's there, he's filming. He has a right to film. So he's sitting there in the street doing it. I think the question is going to be coming when he approached that person that ICE is pushing out of the way of an active operation, and he goes to them. No one knows who he is at that point, right? And so I get it. He's an ICU nurse. We didn't know that at the time. They didn't know that at the time. So what's happening? And if you're ICE, do you worry? What's this guy doing? Is he affiliated with her? What's happening? They start to tussle. Again, this is where what we know now versus what we saw at the beginning, we don't know. He had an absolute right to carry a weapon. If you're a conservative, a Second Amendment advocate, as I am, a concealed carry permit carrier, as I am, he had a right to do that. That is his constitutional right as an American, something that we on the right have been championed. He didn't brandish the weapon. He was permitted. He had it from every account, had it where it was supposed to be. That was discovered. And look, I get if you're an agent and you're in the middle of a tussle and you're watching it, you're going, what's this guy doing? What's happening? But he had a right to have a weapon. He just didn't have a right to go and actively intervene in that law enforcement operation. When that woman was being pushed aside, him going to her, if you're an agent, you go, what the heck is going on? That's where I think a lot of the discussion is going to happen. What did they think was happening at that time? But then when they disarm the guy, that's the other issue. What was it that caused someone to fire? The one X factor that I think exists, the Sig Sauer has a sort of a history of being able to be discharged unintentionally. And so when they do the forensics on this, did that weapon, when it was removed from him, discharge? And therefore did another officer, because one agent takes it away and the other one fires, did that officer believe that the individual was firing versus an accidental discharge? The forensic will prove that or not. But this is where it gets really messy, because what caused you to fire upon him? That's still sort of elusive at this point.
Well, and I think look, it's a really loaded word to say that a federal law enforcement or a state or local law enforcement official murdered somebody. But you have to look at this and just even back up to what Sean was saying, which is there's this intense, which I think totally inappropriate show of force. First for the woman, for the protester. Like, they threw her down and started pepper spraying her. She was a protest. Like, what, to Sean's point, let's hear it from law enforcement. Why is it that they felt they needed to use force, that if a police officer in New York City did that to a protester, would be under investigation without and better have good cause? Then you have the incident of the victim helping her up, and again they attack him. They then basically pin him to the ground, and as you say, they remove his gun. I don't know what else you call it. That they had him surrounded, helpless on the ground with no more weapon, and you elect to shoot him.
Well, but
but this is the thing. If this happened in any other city or any city in America by a police officer, we would all say there needs to be an investigation.
100%.
And the fact that initial response was, nope, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why I think that, getting back to the first thing we said, I think Trump's had enough. And he's like, Kristi Noem clearly doesn't. I mean, to come out and say that at the forefront undermines your credibility, right?
Well,
And what about Stephen? And what about Stephen Miller?
Let's bring some of that, because if the video wasn't bad enough, the administration's initial response was absolutely abysmal. Let's bring up, and it wasn't just Kristi Noem, by the way. Let's look at Stephen Miller right here, going to Axe to say this guy was a would-be assassin, and that Democrats were siding with a terrorist. You had the U.S.
Wait, hold on. Who tried to? He says in this tweet, for those who can't see it, he tried
to murder law enforcement.
He tried to murder law enforcement.
Yeah. You've got the U.S. attorney who was roasted on the right. You guys have hit on this by the NRA and Gun Owners of America for insisting that, quote, if you approach law enforcement with a gun, there's a high likelihood you will be legally justified in being shot. There was Border Patrol chief going out there and saying that Freddie wanted to massacre agents.
Rachel, I just want to pause, because it's not just the NRA. I mean, Dana Lash, a lot of folks on the right who have fought for concealed carry and for the Second Amendment are basically saying, time out. You're now trying to say, because of the situation, that all of the stuff that we've been fighting for to be able to carry concealed, because it not just the Second Amendment, but blah, 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 all of the statistics about making a safer environment. Suddenly now we're throwing that all under the bus. I mean, I'm sorry. That was a really mistimed statement. And then
Trump did it last night to the Wall Street Journal. He focused again on the fact that the guy should not have had a gun.
Well, there's two differences, Dan. One is we can all sit back and say, does it make sense to bring, whether you have
which is what I tweeted on Saturday. Yeah, look, totally agree.
As a responsible gun owner, I will tell you that there are times when do you have a right to do something and should you do something are not always the same. Yep. And so do I believe that going into a very heated situation with law enforcement, carrying a weapon is always the smartest idea? Probably not. Do I think you have a right to do it? Absolutely. And those are not always the same thing. So I think how they address this going forward will matter, because it's not just the NRA. It's a lot of movement conservatives that are going to get pissed.
What I don't understand, Sean, is how an administration that is done really well in terms of like being organized, coordinating internally, how do they let something like Saturday in terms of their response happen? Like, you would have thought like right away when Stephen Miller sent that tweet, there would be like somebody pulling them all together saying, no, we can't, like, we got to not like respond like this. It just seemed like it dragged out for hours and hours. A
Right.
ton of top officials just totally missing the mark on this,
Well,
like
because
losing
I mean, there's
credibility.
two things that were happening. One, the president was at Mar-a-Lago, i.e., you have a disjointed communications network because you're not at the White House altogether. Number two is you're dealing with a major snowstorm. So you have literally the perfect storm, no pun intended, for a lack of a coordinated response. But this was, I mean, again, I think the idea of people going out and making these statements, and also the reality is that when you're the White House, you're relying on your subordinates, just the same in the military, your subordinate commands report up. So you're relying on them to give you accurate ground truth. And if they're basically saying, this is what happened, you're like, great. It's only until later. Remember, they put out the gun. Imagine you get a phone call and someone says, you're not going to believe what just happened. A guy came at us with a gun in the middle of Minneapolis. He had multiple magazines. And you go, are you kidding me? And they go, yeah, we took him down. Don't worry. Oh, good call. And then suddenly 20 minutes later, you watch the video and you go, wait a second, that's not what happened. So I think and this is why I was saying, I don't think that Kristi Noem has really done some serious brand damage, because when that gets pushed up, the people above have to believe and have credibility in the facts that they're getting, and they didn't.
Do you think she gets pushed out over this, Sean?
Well,
I don't know if she gets pushed out, but clearly Tom Homan is going to be in charge. I mean, that they're making that point right now.
Go ahead, Dan.
I mean, I have a different take on this, which is that, and I think this is where the left's intensity is now amping up to 11, and Obama and Clinton's statements reference this. I think the problem for the administration is this is the playbook they have used for the last 6 months, which is to jump out and say it's terrorists, it's crazies, it's murderers. And on the left, and I've talked about this increasingly, I have heard from people for the last 6 months about ICE throwing people to the ground, smashing heads into the pavement, basically beating people up, not murder, but beating the crap out of protesters. And I was like, no, I don't like that. That doesn't sound right. I can't believe that's true. The problem is Saturday morning, to Sean's point, I saw the New York Post headline, which was a picture of the gun and he shot it. Do you know that my in-laws Slack channel had the video already? So at the same time, I'm getting the video and the Post leak. The administration knew the video was out there. The problem is there were more videos, and this is their problem. You can only BS if there isn't a counter set of facts and proof. And they've been caught now multiple times lying. So the problem is it's kind of like Hurricane Katrina, the Iraq War. Once it's established that you lie repeatedly, the public stops trusting you. And forget Democrats. It's the middle. Right. And so for everyone in MAGA who always screams like, who cares? You're not a big enough coalition to win elections. Like newsflash, you need the middle, just like we do.
Well,
and you've lost the middle.
we need to move to shut down. We need to move to shut down.
I would just real quick though, Rachel, to Dan's point, if you're on the right now and you're saying, I disagree with you, guess what? I'm going to give you a political news flash. You'll lose the midterms and the president's going to be screwed. If you support President Trump, his agenda, you better want a solid solution to the situation. Because right now, if we don't wake up and realize what's happening, we will lose both houses and the president will be impeached and the agenda will stop. So as somebody who wants this agenda to move forward, who wants to support the president's policies, I want this to end in a good place. I want him to keep enforcing the border. I want him to go after bad guys. But if we don't take our head out of the sand, we will lose.
Just a very quick question before we move on. Does he pull, some of the ICE officials out of Minnesota by the end of the week? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.